Hello. So hello, my name is Tobias. I work for the Qt company, as I have to say now, since yesterday, I think. Here in our Berlin office, that's where we basically do all the tooling. So everything that's not the Qt library itself and you get as part of the Qt packages is basically done here in Berlin. And I've been working on Qt Creator ever since I joined, actually not Digia, but Nokia, like 7 years ago. But I'm not really sure, don't nail me down on that. So the first patch I ever did in an official capacity was in Qt Creator 1.3, so that's more of a reference time frame for me than how many years that's been ago. Oh, sorry, I touched something that I should. Yeah, I'm a developer, so I'm not really well schooled in giving presentations, so I tend to rush through my slides. So I ask all of you to please help me and just ask questions whenever there is anything popping up, and just stop me, because otherwise we will be out here in 10 minutes, and that might be a bit too early for the coffee break. Oh, it's a last presentation, so there probably isn't even a coffee break, so no reason to hurry for that. So what I want to do with you today is basically give a short overview what is Qt Creator, and that's just a couple of slides. Then I wanted to introduce one concept that we have in Qt Creator, which is the kits, but we'll get to that later. And the rest of the time, I basically wanted to show you how I use Qt Creator, because that's what I do all day long. So we are dog fooding our own stuff, so everybody in our office is basically using Qt Creator 8 hours a day. And yeah, so you're probably going to end up using it a bit differently, but I hope you can take some hints and ideas and some shortcuts that we have built into our tool and make good use of it if you ever decide to use Qt Creator. If you're an avid Vim user or stuck with Visual Studio or whatever, I hope you can take something from this presentation, but I will not try to convince you to only use Qt Creator now, because that's the best tool. I mean, it is, but it's a matter of taste. And my taste does not have to be your taste, so feel free whatever you want to do, but take a look at Qt Creator, because it's really awesome for Qt development. So let's get started with what is Qt Creator. So as I said, I'm a developer. I'm not really good at words. So I went to our marketing or Qt.io site and didn't find what Qt Creator is there. So I went on to Wikipedia. And that's what Wikipedia says. Qt Creator is a cross-platform C++, JavaScript, and QML integrated development environment. The editor's features include syntax highlighting and autocompletion, but no tabs. Yeah, so there's a couple of things I like about that statement, but not all of that. So the first is, of course, the cross-platform aspect. We started Qt Creator, or not we, because I was not there at the time, but my coworkers that actually started it, they got into that as a Creative Friday project. Basically, we were allowed to spend 1 day a week doing fun stuff that's good for the product in some way. And they decided having a nice IDE would be worthwhile. So they wanted something that they can use for themselves on all the platform Qt runs on. So that cross-platform thing is really important to us and really key. We wanted to run everywhere Qt runs, and so you can have the same development environment wherever you are and don't have to switch between Xcode, Visual Studio, and whatever IDE you end up for Linux development. Or any questions so far? Please stop me, because I'm running through otherwise. Okay, so no questions, great. The next thing is obviously support for languages that we use in Qt. So we have C++ support, and we have JavaScript support and QML support, and that's really great. We do have, to a lesser degree, support for some other languages as well, but that's just basically regular expressions-based, and these three here really have a code model, and the creator really understands these languages. So that's really cool feature. The next thing I like about this here is integrated development environment. So when my coworker set out to write an environment for themselves, they basically wanted something where they can do the majority of their work, like let's say 90%. So we, well, everybody in our office firmly believes that you can make a good tool that helps in 90% of the time, but you can't really do more than that because all the environments people work in are different. They have different test environments, they use different build system and whatnot. And so we're content with helping you in 90% of your tasks. The rest of the 10% that are left over, basically, yeah, you already have tools to do them anyway, so just use those. And this just use those is something that's very important to us. So we do want our Qt Creator to play well with other tools and play well with the command line. So that's the reason why we basically use native QMake projects for our project definition. We do have one file with additional information, but we try to use build systems, whatever they are that you use already, and support them without having additional files and stuff, so that you can basically stick with your process that you already have, like QMake, make, whatever, and Creator will automate those for you, but you can still do a manual command line build in a test server or for, I don't know what, for your deployment process is or whatever. Of course, it's an integrated development environment, so we do support things like we have a debugger built in, we have a UI designer built in, we do have version control support for all kinds of version control systems, quite a lot of them. Yeah, and so we do cover those 90%, I think. No questions so far, that's amazing. And the next thing I really like is syntax highlighting and autocompletion. So I like that it mentioned that, and that I think that we're doing a great job here, but actually I'm not 100% happy with that, because for these languages up here that we support fully, we do really awesome syntax highlighting and autocompletion. Because Creator basically compiles your project for you once when you load it, and afterwards it has basically the same information the compiler has. And with that information we can do really awesome syntax completion. We can do, we actually know this is a virtual method or this is a local variable and all that stuff. So that's really awesome. There was a question back there? Oh, sorry. I'm so desperate. Well, please ask questions. Oh yeah? Nah, see it down here, it says number 6, so I'm cheating a bit. And the final thing they note is not tabs. We don't have tabs. We don't want them. So we have lots of users requesting them, but we think it's an awful interface for managing lots and lots of files, like having a tab bar like this wide and then 25, 30, 40, 50 files. So you see nothing except some dots. That doesn't help, so we don't want that. But there are a couple of things I think I'm missing in here. So the first thing is we are expected to code 8 hours a day. So we want something that's actually quite nice to look at least in my opinion. And we don't want to have tons of toolbars and icons and whatnot and menus and stuff you can drag around. So we want to have something simple, something pleasant to work with. And I think that we come pretty close to that that's our current UI. Of course, like any integrated development environment, it's plugin based. So the main Qt Creator executable is like 70 or 80 kilobyte, and everything else is in plugins. But I mean, that's the only sensible choice for an architecture for an integrated development environment. So, yeah. What else am I missing? Let me check. We want it to be suitable for Qt development, of course, because that's what we do and what we think most of our users do as well. But I'm also aware of several people, or at least 2 people, actually working on the Qt kernel using Qt Creator. So we do want to support those use cases. We do concentrate on C++ development, but C is pretty similar, so it kind of works by accident. And we try to make that nicer, but when in doubt, we will always opt for C++ support and not C support. And something else that's something I always like to tell to people in a presentation, and that's unfortunately spoiled by having a decent projector here. It's an IDE that you can actually demonstrate on a 1024 × 760 pixel screen. So see, we have a couple of UI elements, but that's all your source code. And that's what we care about, that you have your source code in view and not some windows and toolbars and whatnot. So it's actually pretty funny that, pretty nice that you can show it even on a really bad VGA projector. Any questions so far? Oh, come on, please. Yes? The questions about version control integration. Yeah, we do have that. We do support quite a lot of them. So we mostly work with Git ourselves because that's what Qt is using. We also support CVS, Subversion, Perforce. There's, what's it? Mercurial. There's this as a commercial one that I keep forgetting about. Not Visual Source Saves, the other one. ClearCase, exactly, yeah. I keep forgetting that one, it's horrible. Yes, in the back? So the question is about Team Foundation Server, and we had some guy working on a plugin for that in our mailing list, but it's an external contributor, so I don't know what his plans are, whether he ever actually wants to upstream it or whether he will actually finish it. But somebody's working on it, so maybe in the future, I don't know. Yes?
So, Major, how are these plugins for version control, like having diffs between different versions and doing conflict resolve?
Yeah, so what is your question about the features we have?
Yeah.
So I can basically show that in the demo if you care. So, well, that's... and so something else that's important to us is we want to work everywhere where Qt developers are, so we need to work on Mac, Windows, Linux, whatever. But we also want to help with device development. So we do have support to deploy to Apple devices, Android devices, I think BlackBerry 2, remote Linux thing, so you can actually build your code, push it to some other Linux machine, run it there, debug it there, and all that stuff. That's something, to support that, we basically have this concept of kits. That's basically, a kit is just a bunch of settings which you can define in one place and reuse for your projects. And these settings are meant to help you build code for one target device, like this iPhone or that Android device or whatever. And it also has the information to actually connect to that device, transfer the binaries over, and then debug and run the application on the device. So that's something that was introduced in 3.1, I think. Or no, in 2.9 actually already. Oh God, time flies. So ever since then we have that, and so far it seems to work reasonably well for people. So that's the one concept I wanted to mention because I'm going to show that later. And yeah, with that, it's demo time because I already ran through all the slides, basically. I told you need to stop me. So let's go over to Qt Creator. So this is Qt Creator version 3.2.1. I basically grabbed it from my Linux distribution of choice with a Qt, whatever that ships in there. And this is almost exactly what you get when you start Creator for the first time. I cheated a bit in one place, but let's not bother about that too much. And I also used one command line flag to start Qt Creator, which is presentation mode. Because one of the things we are very proud of is that you can actually use this tool without hardly ever using a mouse. So it's very keyboard accessible. And since it's really hard to demonstrate here, like I press something and something happened, and you will not notice that, and I will probably forget to mention it. That's why I turned on presentation mode, which will basically display all the keyboard shortcuts I'm pressing here. So there will be a small pop-up here in the middle of blang, and with a keyboard shortcut, which is rather convenient for settings like these here. The Qt version I have in here is 5.3.2 for development purposes, but it doesn't really matter. So this is basically what comes out of the box, and my first recommendation in that is go through the settings once and change them a bit to your liking, because it works reasonably well for Qt development out of the box, but for your project probably has some settings you might want to tweak. So let's go into the settings. That's here in Tools Options. And there's a couple of things I want to point out. The first one is up here in Environment Keyboard. We quite often get feature requests for, oh, please implement functionality, whatever. And quite often we are actually very happy to tell people, it's there, just go into Tools, Options, Environment Keyboard, and define a keyboard shortcut for it, and you're set. So if you're missing something, it's worth looking here. Maybe it's already there, and you just need to assign a keyboard shortcut, and everything works out for you. The next one I want to show is text editor, fonts and color, which is basically the same for highlighting, for syntax highlighting, all that stuff. So if you want to change the default theme, you actually need to copy it, and afterwards you can change it. And one thing I like to do is basically here have highlight local variables. I usually just do them in italics and press apply, and from now on all the methods local to my scope will be in italics. So that's pretty nifty to when you're working with functions. All the local defined stuff will be more clearly visible. But there's more like that. So we have some people in our team who are very afraid of getting into parrot mode, where everything looks different and I have lots and lots of colors, and that's very distracting. So we do have quite a few things that are not highlighted by default. So if you're missing some highlighting, go here, turn it on. Most of the time it should be there. Any questions? Then I want to show build and run the kits. That's basically when you start Creator for the first time, you should have one kit, which is called the desktop. And that's basically defining the set of tools to build and run code locally on the machine you're building or you're working on. If you have Android toolkits installed and all that stuff, you might get additional kits. Same for iOS, for talking to all kinds of devices and stuff like that. But I'm not going to cover that here. I think there's some other presentation about on-device development and stuff like that, which goes into details here. Questions? So, yes, back there.
Okay. I'm working on MinGW and on QNX.
Yeah.
And I've downloaded both of the packages. But I've got a problem. I can't take one kit into the other. Because in the QNX package, I've got two predefined kits.
Yep.
And in the Windows open source package, there's the MinGW kit.
Yep.
So how can I combine those?
So basically, you have two Qt Creator instances, one with MinGW and one with QNX.
I'm not very happy.
That's actually a bit tricky. And, well, the kits have a globally unique ID, and if those changes, then Creator doesn't recognize that. So you need to fiddle with the configuration a bit. It's possible, and I can tell you after the show, after this presentation, how to actually exactly do it, but it's a bit tricky.
Okay.
So just remind me. So basically here you see it's a desktop, it's a local PC that it's going to connect to and talk to. It doesn't have a sysroot, so it's basically taking the headers and libraries from the that are basically installed on the machine. It uses a system debugger, which it found in the standard location. It uses a standard Qt library that it found in the standard location. So all of that is auto-detected, and it should work. If it doesn't, go here and check whether auto-detection of something failed and just add that. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to talk about configuration stuff. If you want to use it in earnest, go through all the settings and check them. There's lots of stuff like indentation and all other things in there, all kinds of other things in there that you might want to tweak. Yeah, there's another question.
Yeah, can you also use the custom make files?
Can you use custom make files? Yes, you can. So we have generic projects which are basically just calling make. And you need to define basically a list of files that belong to your project then, and have a list of defines that are applicable to your source code, as well as header passes and all that stuff in a set of files, basically for Qt creators use. But we also have AutoTools support, so you can basically load AutoTools projects if you enable the plugin in help plugins. Yes?
What about CMake?
We do support CMake. Double-click on CMake list.txt. Then it should open the project. It's not as well supported as QMake or Cubes, because there are some tricky bits with CMake and some other issues that basically make it hard to integrate with that. But that's not CMake's fault alone. Some of that is ours too. So just let's run through the UI. So at the top you have a menu bar, pretty boring stuff. Here at the side we call that the mode bar, which basically has different UI configurations for different tasks, which is sometimes really convenient. This down here, this thing here, that's a mini target selector. You can use that to switch between different projects and parts or applications that are built as part of that project, different build and configurations and all that stuff. And down here are a couple of buttons to run, debug, and build your project. There's also keyboard shortcuts for that, of course. Then we have this here, it's a locator, which is something I'm going to cover in the next slide, in quotes. And we have a couple of output panes down here, and everything else is basically for your code. So let's get started with opening a project. I was looking for a medium-sized project that I could, well, bigger than a normal demo-sized project, and since I'm a Qt Creator developer, what kind of project might that be? We could do File New, and there are a couple of wizards to help you get started with new projects, but I just open an existing project, and there's this convenient QtCreator.pro. And now it will basically ask me which configuration I want to work with. That's the desktop. That's pretty easy for me because I only have one. And then it will take a while down here to actually run through all the source code of the project. So we don't have any cache or whatever. We just parse your project when you load it. So it takes a while, but it's already done. So the first thing I want to show is how to get around source code. And I said Qt Creator is plugin based, so I thought let's just find out how those plugins are loaded. And how would you start finding out how Creator loads plugins? Where would you start? Any ideas?
Grep.
Huh?
Plugin.
Huh? No, not grep plugin. Well, my idea was just to find the main method. And that's where the locator comes in. So if you take something out of the session, please let it be Control K. See, that brings up the locator. And the locator is the one really cool feature we have. So I absolutely love it. So basically, I have this small text field here, and I can type anything in there, and it will find that stuff. So let's search for methods, and let's search for main. There's a main window. No, what's that? Methods. So What did I do? Why is there more than the main stuff in there? So, here, all the main methods we have in Qt Creator. And those in tests are probably not what we need, but source app main.cpp, that looks like a good place to start, doesn't it? Okay, so let's just go there. And now we need the main method in this local file, and that we can do that by just Control-K dot, and then it will always only find the symbols in the locally opened file. So, yeah, see, there's the main method. Let me make that a bit bigger because it's probably hard to read, isn't it? Is that better? Okay, so there's not much happening here, but there's custom plugin path down here. So that's what else is it doing here? Global settings, plugin manager. That sounds like something, doesn't it? So let's find out what that is. Let's search for a class, and that's a plugin manager. That's defined in the extension system. So you can jump to any class, you can jump to any method, you can jump to any class, you can jump to the methods in the local file. And that's really awesome because it saves so much time because you can just type wherever you want to go. You can also type in the file name if you happen to know that, and you can search the help for, if I can actually type the word thing for QString, for example, then it will open the help for it. Of course, you can go also back again. So basically, all the stuff we can search for in Creator in any way, you can access with this locator thingy. So if you get out of here, please remember Control-K, because that's just awesome. You can also do web searches in here, so you can Control-K and search for terms, and it will pop up the browser with the search term and that. So it can do a lot of things. So just open it again, and basically here you have a list of shortcuts. You can do git commit in there, and it will commit, and git blame, and all that stuff. So it's really powerful.
Can it also do key shortcuts? Well, you can bind key shortcuts to actions?
No, you cannot bind key shortcuts to actions there, no. Or what exactly is the question?
Well, you showed the option menu,
yep.
The keyword and the shortcuts.
Yep.
And when hitting a shortcut, it executes an action.
No, you cannot trigger those Qt Creator commands, or not all of them in there. So there are a couple of them that work, like via the git, for example. You can do git blame and whatever, and it will just run the UI stuff for that, for example. So, and the next keyboard shortcut I want to show is basically escape, and that wherever you are, press escape a couple of times, and you're back here at your source code. So it doesn't really matter where you are. I can go back to the help, or just escape. Always gets you back to your code, so if you're stuck somewhere, hit escape a couple of times. It works. Questions so far? Yes?
Can you also use the mouse to, say, click on a name of a variable to jump to its declaration?
You can also use the mouse, of course, but Control-K is very convenient, of course, but there's also other keyboard shortcuts. So you can use the mouse, but you don't have to. So one convenient thing is basically, if I am here on your object, I can just press F1 and I get a small help here at the side. If I press F1 again, it will be full screen and I can do whatever I want there. And of course, escape takes me back to my text. The other thing is, which is sometimes really useful, is basically F2, which is follow function. So whatever this, it takes you to that symbol, like add object here, that's defined here. And so that's a really fast way to jump, to follow what code does. Basically just hit F2 a couple of times and figure it out. Here's a question in the back.
When I follow up with F2, how can I go back to the
there is actually, I want to cover that a bit later, but you can basically do Alt left to go back to your whole navigation history, and Alt right to go the other way again. Another question?
We are using CMake.
Yes?
Description, and when you log in a CMake project, you don't see, or the project manager doesn't list any header files.
Yeah, so
That's why we tweaked reading the CMake list file.
yeah.
And you change the interface from QtCreator 2.x version 3.
Yeah, we always change interfaces. So we do promise that we don't change it in minor releases, in patch level releases, but we always change everything else. But
There in, I haven't elaborated QtCreator.
so the question was actually about CMake projects and header files, because in CMake you do not need to declare which header files belong to the project, and Creator reads the CMake list, the CMake definition, and gets the files that belong to the project from there. And since there are no headers, Creator will not show them. You could list them in the CMake. CMake doesn't care about that, so you can list them when they show up. Apart from that, you can also do F4 to switch between header and source files, which even works even if it's not known that it's part of the project, and afterward it gets indexed, and then it should work again. So F4 to switch between header and source is another keyboard shortcut that I wanted to think, but please remember Control K. Yeah, so I said we don't have tabs, as you can see. So if you like to use the mouse, you can basically go up here and switch between the open projects. You can also have basically the open documents down here, which is a list of documents you have open. There's also, where is it? Where's my tab key? No, that's the wrong one. Control tab, so which has a list of open files sorted by when you last opened them, so it's really convenient to switch between two files like that way. And of course you can use Control K to enter file names and jump to classes and whatever. I hope you start to see a pattern here. And that's basically all I wanted to say about code navigation, because there's lots of other stuff, but the editor can do really cool features, cool things as well, but that's should get you around a code base you're not too accustomed with in quite a decent amount of time and fast, and get you to know code pretty fast.
Is there a way for annotation?
For annotations, like what?
Well, like you have the when you can hint on an object type or something like that.
Well, there's of course commands for the source code itself. So the question was about annotations, and we don't have anything specific for that. What you can do is basically set a bookmark to mark important places, but I don't think we can actually attach private notes to anything. But if it's, I think if it's really important, or if it helps you a lot, then it's worth commenting it, and it's a normal comment for all the other developers as well. More questions? Okay, so I already showed that you can go back with Alt left, Alt right. So that's basically whenever the cursor position changes in a major way, it will get an entry in that list, and then you can just go back there. Understanding code is the next topic I wanted to cover a bit. And there's basically, let's look for the plugin class here. And so that's an interface for all the plugins, and that should be a pretty important thing. How can you find out what implements that interface? And in Creator, we have the type hierarchy for already in memory. So basically, you can do Control-Shift-T, and you get a type hierarchy here, which basically shows you what the base class of that type is and where it's used, and you can basically jump there with one click. That's pretty convenient, especially when you're refactoring some strange hierarchies of objects that you're not intimately familiar with. And the other thing that's a pretty nice feature is basically find usages. So you can find where stuff is used. It doesn't really matter what it is. You can basically go, well, let's find where this one is used here. Oh, that's the wrong one. Wrong keyboard shortcut. Hey, come on, do something. My computer is sometimes a bit sleepy. Why don't you react? So yeah, now it works. So it's Control-Shift-U, and then you can see down here basically where everything is used, and you can navigate through that list very conveniently and just find where everything is used.
Are those literals or are these
That's
color codes?
That's symbols. So if you have the same symbol in different objects, it will only find the one for that object that you're on. So that's already very convenient, but of course, if you know where the symbol is, you can also rename it. So just do Control-Shift-R, and it will show you basically the same list we had before, and you can just replace it, and it will do the right thing. Yes? Back there.
Is it possible to spawn all because it just uses the file names?
You can basically click here for expand all. That's this icon here. And with function key 6, you can basically jump to the next one, which is is there a keyboard shortcut? I don't know. I think there is, but probably you have to assign something to it. So, any more questions? So, I mean, renaming stuff is already pretty convenient, but you can also do a couple of other things. So let's go back to iPlugin and just pretend that we want to add a new plugin. So let's say we want a test plugin public iPlugin. And we have quite a lot of what we call quick fixes. So let's say, and we also have snippets. So snippets are basically a piece of text with variables in it, which can then get replaced. So one example for that is Q property. And if I start that, it expands that to the thing, and you have a couple of variables. Let's say this is a Q string, and the name is test. The read method is test. Write is set test, and test changed. Or what did I do now? So whenever I update that, it will be reflected everywhere. Test, yeah, okay, so that's fine. Oh, what am I doing here? So this snippet basically takes this text and expands it to the rest and allows me to replace variables in it. And it even allows you to change capitalization. So here's uppercase T while it's lowercase here and stuff like that. So that's pretty nifty. And especially combined with what we have, this is some small thing called quick fixes. So for example, I can trigger with Alt-Enter, I can trigger a quick fix on QProperty, and there's one for that's generate QProperty members. And let's just do that. So there is the code.
Sorry, I searched for that.
Huh?
I looked for that.
You did? It's a pretty new feature. I think it's in 3.2.
Okay,
So, 3.2. And you can also move the code around and move that to the CPP file and stuff like that. So the quick fixes are really, they can save you a lot of tedious work. So
how did you start it?
Alt and return. And they can do really cool stuff. So for example, we implemented the iPublic interface up here, and that has a lot of virtual methods, so I can just go here. Hello, what's wrong with you? Oh, I jumped to the wrong place. So and can basically set insert virtual functions. And which one do we need to insert? Oh, just let's add all of them and fire, and there they are. So that's one of the really nifty features. Once you get used to that, you really don't want to miss that.
Can we also add empty definitions in the definition file?
It should have. No, it didn't, but
You didn't check the.
but I can do add definition in CPP file and then go there, and there it is. So let's say this one here, let's put that into the CPP file and then just do something. Let's say QdDB arguments return true. And now let's say we don't like error string. We want error messages. Message. So let's apply function signature changes. And so if you now go back, it's applied, so it's error messages again. That's already pretty nifty, but argument is such an ugly name, so let's change that to, what do we want to call that? Args. And apply those changes, and when you go back, you see it replaced args here, and of course it replaced it in the whole. So basically it renames the symbol, so everything in the method is also renamed. So that's really convenient. So once you get used to that, you really love it. You will really stick with that. It's so wonderful.
We also have a snippet for adding a doxygen.
There is, do we have a snippet for adding doxygen?
Very vague.
You just do backslash, the quote with 2 stars and hit enter, and it happens automatically. Any questions about snippets and those nice little quick fixes? There's also one very convenient one that I really want to show you. So let's say we have a string, test string, and there's one which is markers translatable, and it will just do the right thing. So this is a Q object, so it uses tr. If it's outside, if it's not a Q object, we'll use Q core application translate. And there's also doing a no op and whatever. So I find it very convenient because I keep forgetting how to actually use that stuff. So I just use a quick fix nowadays. Yeah, that's basically the quick run through of the stuff I wanted to show. Yeah, there's another question in the back. Does it work with the document? That's a good question. I don't know. Let's try it. But I would assume it doesn't. But so let's rename that again. Let's do that here because otherwise it will not. Arguments. Apply that. Now see it's still unchanged. So it left those alone. Sorry. But we do have a bug tracker and we are happy with for feature requests. So there are no more questions about that. I mean, it's just a quick introduction anyway, so I cannot really show everything. Then I wanted to cover debugging a bit. And because I was too lazy to set up an environment here, I used a session. Sessions are basically Qt Creator's way of saving the whole state of the UI. So all the open files, all the breakpoints you have set, everything. All the open projects, just everything. Bookmarks, everything goes into the session. And I can just basically switch between sessions very fast. You just go to the next one. No, I don't want to save that. And it takes a while to load the new projects and all that stuff. But you're back to the state you've been in. So you can define a new session in the session manager here, start a new one. They are also on this in the startup page. So if you go here, you have a list of sessions here, so you can open them quickly. You can also open them via the command line, but by default we will open in a new empty session. So if you want Creator to know the state of you've been or your workspace was in when you leave in the evening and shut down Qt Creator, you need to save a session and open that again the next day. Otherwise, your breakpoints will be gone. So opening a session takes a bit of time because you can have lots of projects in there. That's why we don't open them or open the last one by default. But there's also a command line switch to do exactly that, so that it always opens the last session. Yes?
How would you evaluate a new version of Qt Creator? Because I recognize if you open a project, a new version of Qt Creator, it stores something .local or .config, sure, in Linux. And then if you go switch back to the old version of Qt Creator, it's kind of broken.
So the question is about using different versions of Qt Creator at the same time. And for that, I personally use settings pass as a command line option where I can actually tell Creator to store all its settings in some other place. And I also do that for different projects because then I can basically have a different settings path for all the major projects I'm working on, because then I can have different layouting and code formatting and all that stuff in a convenient package, and all the projects I have in there will use those settings. It's I can show you here. 1 second. Let me. So that's the startup script I used for today. So this is a presentation mode. So you actually see the keyboard shortcuts. Let me make that bigger. How does that work here? How do I make things bigger? Control Shift and mouse wheel. Yeah. Okay, so here's the settings path, and that's a temporary directory. So basically, I throw everything away after the session. And that's presentation mode. So that's how you can change the location of your configuration files. 10 minutes. So what I just did was basically switch into the debug demo session, which is a really small one. It's basically, let's go, what did I do now? Outline, projects. It's the Qt Creator project again, up here. And it also opens our test directory with unit tests and all that stuff. And I basically picked one very simple application, which is used to test the debugger with. And when I go here, you see that that's the debugging view. I have a couple of breakpoints set, which are also stored as part of the session. Nah, that was not what I wanted to do. Anyway, so I can just start that application. I built it and cheated a bit because building Creator takes an awful long time on that machine here. So it should, it's already hitting breakpoint 1, and up here you have the variable, and that's BA, it's a byte array. It's not yet, we're up here in this line, so it's not yet available. But if I step one step further, it is, and you see the value up here. At the moment it's empty, as expected, but as we step further on, it gets extended. So that's basically just a nice visualization of the normal Qt types, which is pretty useful, because I don't know whether any of you ever looked at with a normal debugger without that support on any of our types, and you will know that we have a D pointer with internal stuff somewhere. Yeah.
See the actual value, because if you have a big tree, big object tree, with a lot of sub-objects, so if at the end of the tree you have some XML or something, it's very hard to click into this side window
You can actually add expressions, which are then separate, in a separate window area. And you can also just hover over the variable and you get the value that as it currently is. So does that help? So the question was about... Mm-hmm. Can you edit the value? You can edit them here, but I'm not sure whether you can do some edit by hovering. Oh, come on. Show that then pop up. And I'm not aware of, well, you can define an expression and then you have it outside of the tree and in a separate area down here in this window. So that might help, I'm not sure.
Basically, what Visual Studio does is it makes a pop-up window, so you think of this print of your main code.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You see less and less of your code, more and more of this output.
Yeah. So you can have a pop-up here and put it somewhere. Can you edit it here? No, you can actually edit in here as far as... No, you can't. But you can actually view that here. I think that's in for a long time now, but it's possible that you can configure whether that's on or not, and maybe you turn it off, I don't know. It's in the configuration somewhere. But let me just unpin that again. So the same, of course, works for QStrings, and something that I really like a lot is, well, let me go one further. So that's a QImage here that I'm currently looking at, that I am. I can go in here and change local display format and go for displayed, and that makes it a bit smaller. And as I step through the code here, I can actually follow the drawing. So we do have some really nice debugging features for Qt types and some STL types as well. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say about debugging. And are there any more questions? So you wanted something about version control? Yes?
What you cannot do is move the position where it's executed next. Or can you do this?
No, you cannot move around. So there is a feature.
That's the only feature I really miss from the
You can go back with some GDB version, and that sometimes actually works. But in general, I try to avoid doing that. Yeah, 5 more minutes. So let me go back to iPlugin.h, and you can do all the normal stuff like find out let's get blame output for that file, who did it, and you can have diff views, you can commit in there. So you should do the normal stuff, yes. Is there anything specific you wanted to know?
Just want to look at workflows by comparing diffs between the original files, changed files.
So you can go here, there is a conflict resolution thingy, but I actually use it rather rarely because I'm very old-fashioned and still stuck on the command line for version control stuff. I don't know why. But we do, with Git, we actually do merge conflict resolution and all that stuff. There was another question over there?
Can you change code while you debug?
You can change code, but you need to build it again and start debugging again. So you can change it, but it doesn't help. It's C++, yeah. So if there are no more questions at this point, I would like to go back here and just give a short summary. Well, there was another question, yeah.
One more question about the debugging. Can you debug the Qt creator Qt 3.3 like Qt3?
I actually don't know, but we have the guy here who actually wrote the stuff. So if you come to me, I can introduce you to that guy. Okay. So there's a couple of things I want to have on a slide so you can actually look them up, because that without looking through the whole video. So escape takes you to your code, alt left, alt right, navigation history. Control tab, control shift tab, going back and forwards between your open files. F1, F2, F4 for help, follow symbol, and switch between headers. There's control shift U for find usages and refactoring, and alt return for the quick fixes. And of course, what's missing? Yes! Wonderful. So, some URLs, not really important here, just so they are documented for. That's basically what I wanted to show you. Thanks for all the questions. You saved my butt here. And any more questions?